Sometimes, life can feel like one big project, constantly trying to put the pieces together. What if I told you it's okay to be a mess? Life is a journey, and we must transform ourselves into who we want to become. We start by knowing who we are and with the relentless pursuit of our passion and purpose. How did I do it? With a lot of help from my friends. And we'll talk about all of that right here on The Beautiful Butterfly Project.
The great Maya Angelou said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." She also said, "I've learned that making a living is not the same as making a life." And today, our guest, Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, does just that. Dr. Mitchell-Blackwell is the intuitive business coach who leads her clients to live life on fire for the ultimate successful life with peace, joy, and fulfillment. Lynita has built an award-winning law firm and publishing house. She is a #1 best-selling author, an ordained New Thought minister, and she is recognized nationally as an outstanding community servant leader, and yet still something was missing. Lynita realized that although successful, her accolades and achievements did not create lasting happiness. She felt called to create something more, and she did just that. Filled the void, which created a bridge that led to more. It brought her sustainable peace, joy, and fulfillment in her life. Now Lynita shares this message with audiences all over the country and works with individuals as well as corporate, civic, faith-based, and entrepreneurial organizations as they implement her steps to living an abundant life. The Beautiful Butterfly Project is honored to welcome Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell to the show. Hi, Lynita. How are you today?
Hello, Dr. Nicole Turner. It's so good to be here
Well,
today.
Well, I can say a fellow doctor's in the house then. And this group of people that will watch the show and who will tune into the show is who I call the Butterfly Nation. And so I know that I have read your wonderful bio and given them a little bit of insight into who you are. But could you tell the Butterfly Nation a little bit more about who the Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell is?
Absolutely. So, first, thank you again so much for having me on your show. And I have a question for the Butterfly Nation. What happens when your dreams turn into nightmares? Because for me, it happened and it was like someone just smacked me and left me on the pavement. I was raised by loving parents who taught me to achieve, achieve, achieve. And that as I did, that I would be rewarded. And they did not lie. I did well in high school and got a scholarship. I did well in college and got a good job, met a great man, built a wonderful family and life together. What I did not know that if I did not manage my stress well, if I did not stop looking externally to others for my validation, for approval, for love, that I was going to run myself into the ground. And I did. And it was not until my then 6-year-old daughter found me passed out from exhaustion in the middle of the floor. And she kissed me on the forehead and put a pillow under my head and a blanket over my body and said, "Good night, Mommy." That I realized that I was going to have to change the way that I defined life success. It could no longer be about the stuff, cars, clothes, promotions, money, etc. It was going to have to be something that was from within. But Dr. Turner, I'm going to tell you, I needed help. I didn't know how to do that on my own. And it really was not until I was signing documents at the hospital for my last round of surgeries due to endometriosis, which is the growth of uterine cells outside of the uterus, that they said I might not come through this one because this was number 3 now, that I knew that I was going to have to get that help. And so I found a wonderful organization called The Art of Living that taught me breathing and meditation and yoga and how to externalize my stress and internalize self-love. And that, with my prayers and my meditation, allowed me to build a program that helped other highly successful, highly stressed, performing, mostly women, but I do have some male clients, how to live a life on fire. And that is a life that is full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And so that is who I am. I teach other people how to if they can, avoid what I went through, but if they have gone through what I went through, how to ensure that they don't do it again.
I've asked that question many times, and I don't think I've had an answer quite like that. And I don't think I was ready for that, and I don't think the Butterfly Nation was either, because there's so much to unpack in that. You said a lot, because when we grow up, and that's some words of advice that I got also, you grow up, you go to school, you get a good job, a good job, right? You work that job until you retire. You find your mate for life. You make a family, and no one talks about the stress associated with that. No one talks about the mindset that comes with that. No one talks about, is that really what we want, and is that our definition of success?
Yes.
So I want to ask you a follow-up question to that. When we talk about success, especially as women, and even as Black or African American women, I will say this. When we talk about success, did your definition of success now match other people's purview or what their vision of success was for your life?
So at that time, yes, it did. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I am grateful for, especially as a mother that is now facing what my parents did, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so my parents looked at my skills, gifts, and talents, and they directed me toward accounting. And I looked around, and everybody who was an accounting major at Florida A&M, they were looking to go to work at at that time it was a Big Six. They've now consolidated down to Big Four firm. And so I was very blessed to get a job with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And that was the definition of success. Get a good job with a Fortune 500 company, right? And with that would come the car you want to drive, the home you want to have, the person you want to build a life with, a true life partner, not just someone that you're sharing a pillow with, right? And they were right. Those things came. But there was a sacrifice to that. To fit into the mold of corporate America, I had to look a certain way. And that required me to have my hair straightened. And when I dared to step out of the lines that were very narrow, when I cut all the perm out of my hair and went natural, it was a huge shock. When other people change their hairstyles, it's like, oh, I like that, or that's cool, that's snazzy, even if they don't really like it. When I did, it was shock.
Right.
And whispers. And can I touch your hair? And that is just one example of the microaggressions that we bring into our bodies that then form into illness. And for me, it attacked my reproductive system. It led to fibroids, the endometriosis I referenced, the polyps, the heavy bleeding during periods. And so I went back to perming my hair. And I didn't even realize that doing those perms was part of the thing that was messing with my hormones. Because it was only later, like within the last couple of years, that I found out that there was a causal link between the active ingredient in relaxers and these problems that I was having with my reproductive system.
Because a lot of what we don't know is that the things that we put into our body and all of the, the free radicals that are in the environment, they contribute to our overall health, and what we
Yes,
put in, it must come out.
that's right.
And usually it manifests itself as stress
Right.
and illness.
That's right.
We know whether it's migraines, because I suffer from migraines. I have suffered from endometriosis as well. And so those things all come out, and that impacts our overall health. And when we talk about conforming to a work environment because it is seen as part of our professional life and our good job, that forces us to change who we are. So, my question to you is, when you were growing up, you said you didn't know what you wanted to be,
Right.
but did you have an idea of what your purpose was in life as you started to get older and as you finished college? Did you start to develop a sense of purpose?
So I have known since I was small that my purpose was going to be wrapped up in some form of advocacy, because I was always that kid that was standing up for someone else. And so when I was, I think, in middle school, my aunt suggested that I become an attorney. And so I did go back to law school after I worked in accounting a couple of years, and I'm an attorney now with my own firm. And so I've always known that somewhere I was going to be speaking up for others. I was going to be representing them, helping them to live a life. Did I necessarily know that it was going to be in the type of work that I do now with the type of litigation that I do? No. But it's steps, it's building blocks, because it started with my community service. Interestingly, with the Girl Scouts, a girlfriend and I, we in college at Florida A&M, we had a Daisy Girl Scout troop, and that's the little girls. They're like five,
Yeah.
and they at the time they could not sell cookies, and we were like, "Oh, this is great!" So twice a month we would play with them, because that was all that we could really do as daisies, and it was so much fun. And I
Yeah.
remember this one little girl, she said, "I had the best day of my life today." And of course, you're little, and so you have 5 years under your belt, but I remember the way that felt, and I wanted to feel that way every day if I could. And so that very much influenced the path that I chose, with serving with the 100 Black women, and then my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, and doing the Emerging Leaders Institute for leadership training and development, and now here with the relaxer litigation, representing people who have been harmed by the use of those toxic chemicals without any warning. So that has been my trajectory, and it all started very small, just being that little kid that was like, "You don't talk to her that way."
And talk to us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, because to be completely transparent to the Butterfly Nation, I have known you probably for about 7.5 years, and it's just a pleasure. And I know you to be confident. I know you to be outspoken. I know you to be a force in women's empowerment. So talk to us a little bit about your upbringing.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Miami,
Oh,
Florida,
wow.
and I matriculated. Yes, yes, and I matriculated through the schools there. Golden Glades, then Crestview, Miami Lakes Elementary, Middle, and Highland Miami Lakes Senior High, and have absolutely wonderful parents who love and adore me, Dr. Byron Linwood Mitchell and Patience Mitchell. And I learned excellence from them. My dad was born in 1936, and I'm giving you that year to give you some context on what I'm about to say next. My father was the first Black orthodontist in the state of Florida and the second in the South.
Wow.
And after he graduated from dental school at Howard, he came back to Miami because he wanted to be a servant of the people. And so he started out with the health department, and then he wanted to establish his own practice. And a white dentist told him, and forgive the
Oh, yeah.
swear, but this is what they said. That person said, "No nigga is ever going to be successful as an orthodontist
Wow.
down here." And my dad, if you can imagine someone who went to college and went to dental school and served in the military, and now he is about to launch into his dream, to have somebody say that to him, to his face. That was a defining moment. He could have quit. And this is one of the things, it's really important, the people that we surround ourselves with, we have to surround ourselves with other champions, with other butterflies in our nation, right? Because who was to be my godfather, Dr. William Chapman, said, "We gonna show that motherfucker."
Wow.
That's what he said to him. And so he helped my father build his practice. Now, come in my mom, who was raised fifth generation preacher's kid. Wonderful, loving heart, truly the heart of a servant. Anything she touches grows. Anything she speaks manifests. And so she taught me the power of being positive and loving and serving in the community as well. The two of them came together and they had me and my sister. And although they did not last as a marriage, they were always together in their co-parenting of
Wow.
us. And that was largely, yeah, and it's a big deal, because there was a time when my father's business did not do so well, and it was a span of years. And there was pressure on my mother to go after him and give him a hard time about it. And she always said no. And it wasn't until I got older that I understood people really are doing the best that they can where they are, right here, right now. And you have an option of being a blessing or a burden on a person. Always choose the blessing, even when it's easy to be a burden. And because she was able to do that, and my sister and I saw grace in action, right? We grew up to be graceful, loving, and kind people as well. And my parents are now able to be friends, even though they've been divorced literally over 40 years. A lot
That
of
is
people can't
something.
say that. That is really something. And so that's the type of environment I was raised in, and I try really hard to impart that same thing to my daughter, who's a teen now.
And how old is your baby girl? I still call her baby girl.
I know, because when you know she was a baby, she is 15 now.
Oh.
And as a matter of fact, before this interview, I just came from a scholarship fair, getting ready to go to college. And I look at her sometimes, Dr. Turner, and I'm just like, I cannot believe that my baby is no longer a baby. She's a little taller than me. And sometimes she comes and pats me on the shoulder, telling me, so, "Hey, shorty." Just like, get out of here with that.
Get out of here. Our children will remind us of so many things.
Yes, they do.
And
They really do.
And something you struck me that when you were talking, about your dad, is that he could have chosen to give up. And also, we are only as good as the people who surround us. And I always say the top five people will define and will show other people who you are, because when you surround yourself with greatness, then naturally you're going to be great. And so you do a myriad of things. And as I was reading your biography, it's just so extensive. And when you talk about, the work that you've done, and when you talk about all of these beautiful moments in your life, have you ever had one moment that has defined you, that has prompted what you are doing in your work? And we're going to get to your various endeavors, but I want to talk about that one cathartic moment that set you on a trajectory in your career.
I did not have that one moment. My life has been made up of many moments. And so, what I like to tell people is that we only have one moment, and that's the eternal moment of now. When I went through seminary at the Kairos Institute, founded by Reverend Rowena Silvera Beck, their slogan is the only moment is now, right? And so when we look at our lives, we want something big to just happen and this booming voice to come out of the sky to show us a direction. But if you accept that at every moment, right here, right now, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and that as one who is loved by Great Spirit, by Holy Father, by God, that no matter what step you take, that you are covered, that you are protected, and that you are divinely inspired. If you knew that, then you would not hesitate to take whatever the step is. As long as you're taking that step in love, what comes next is going to be fruitful. Part of the problem, though, is that we've been taught to equate the word fruitful with the tangible things in life, with prosperity, something that you can put your hands on, which for most of us would be something that is money. But the truth is, your health is intangible. And without health, you have nothing. Your well being, your mental acuity and capacity is intangible. Without those things, life is not really worth living. We all know people who have a lot of stuff. I deal with those folks in my practice, and yet they have no relationship with their children. They have no support from coworkers that they served with for 30 years. That is not the type of life that I want. And so I work really hard to live a life that is truly full of the peace and joy and fulfillment that I talked about. And so it's not that I don't like nice things, Dr. Turner. I like having a nice home and I like driving a nice car. But my focus is not on those things.
And that's so important because I was part of a mastermind during when we were all locked down on COVID, which is part of the reason why, like, I started the podcast. I got unstuck during the time when we were stuck in, and one of the things that we say is where your focus is, that's where your energy goes. Because if you're focused on the tangible items, of course, where you live, your zip code, where your kids go to school, the clothes you wear, the cars you drive, just the stuff of life, then we forget about exactly what you said, the intangibles, our peace, what my grandmother called our right mind, our health and our strength, the ability to enjoy the experience of connecting with other people is so important. And when we talk about just those intangibles, and I just remember watching a show that used to come on, Being Mary Jane, and Mary Jane Paul was a mess. Her real name was Pauletta.
Yeah.
But she was a good mess in that she wanted to get better, and she was, thriving and being all of these things, but she was always trying to fill the missing holes in her life. And she used to stick these little notes up around her bathroom and in her kitchen of these affirmations and these mantras. And so on your journey to your purpose and on your journey to becoming who you are in life, is there any one particular affirmation or mantra or statement in life that you live by?
So yes, I actually have a couple. So the first one that really resonated with me is one by Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And it stuck with me because I don't normally remember quotes and let's know who said them, but that is one that has stuck with me my whole life. And it was defining when my life that I had worked so hard to craft, because that's what we're really doing, right? We're creating the lives that we want, started to crumble around me, and I didn't know what to do to repair it, or to fortify it so that it would stop and that it will continue to look like the shining pearl at the top of the mountain, right? And so it was during the process of healing that I came across another, and this one is I Am the Word. It is by Paul Selig, and it is by the same a book by the same name, I Am the Word. And the claim goes like this: I am Word through my body, I am Word through my vibration, I am Word through the knowing of myself as the Word. I am Word in all I see before me. I am here, I am here, I am here. And what that claim does is it brings us back to present. It aligns us with the person in front of us so that we remove judgment and that there's only love, and that we remember that at all times that we are God in action, that God created us for purpose, that we are love and we are loved. And so the same love that we know we have, it is our responsibility, our duty to share that with others. Now that doesn't mean to be run over by other people. Right. My job says that I don't believe that, right? I hold people accountable when they hurt other folks. But I can hold you accountable and still love you.
Wow.
I can hold you accountable and still respect you. I can hold you accountable and still pray for you to have a shift in your mindset so that you stop behaving in a way that says that you don't realize that you are connected to every person on this earth. So, yeah. Because one of the things that Paul Selig says is that every time we judge someone and we say that they are outside of God, then we are pulling ourselves out too. Because my cousin used to have this saying, people are watching your podcast going to be like, she cuss a lot, but this is really what he said.
He said, so that's why we like each other so much.
Okay, well that's good. He used to say, "Ho no ho, game no game," and so for you to be able to see something in someone else, either that's in you or you are so familiar with it that it might as well be. So I would rather align myself with love, with peace, with charity, with grace, than with the other stuff. Even though we all dabble in the other stuff, it's important that we snap back real quick, right?
Oh my gosh. You said something. You floored me when you said when people treat people the way they treat them, and they treat them ugly, they mistreat them, they judge them, then they act like they're not connected to them as a human being.
That's right.
And when you take yourself away from that and separate yourself away from those people, then you're taking them away from God, the spirit that created us all. Oh, you took me out with that. I wanted to get up and just throw my hands up and just shout just for a minute because it's so true. Because if we as human beings saw one another as human and the humanity in all of us, then we wouldn't treat each other the way that we do.
Yes, absolutely yes.
That is so important. Oh my gosh. Woo, girl. Yes, and for the record, I am a cusser. You know, I said at the beginning of the year, I've been counting, it's like 152 words so far since, and it's not even February. And I had made a declaration that I was going to clean it up. and my husband's been, trying to hold me accountable, so I'm doing a lot better.
Well, awesome. We'll hold each other accountable. How about that?
But I didn't, because we talk about our journeys and we talk about, butterflies and change and transformation and on our journey to becoming who we are. I held that back for so long for fear people would judge me. And just one day I said, you know what? I am intelligent, I am articulate, and I know who I am. So if I want to drop one periodically because that's an expression of what I'm feeling in the moment, then that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to keep it moving. So I'm glad that I found a kindred spirit in that. Okay, girl. Let's move on to the next question.
Awesome.
So, we all have a great influence in our lives, and I know that I do. And but is there any one person or two people that you feel that influenced your path in life?
Oh, absolutely. My mother, most definitely, because she was the one who was constant and present no matter what was going on. Because my dad was at an entrepreneur, because even when you have the professional designations, if you have your own business, you are an entrepreneur, and so you eat what you kill. So if you're not working, there's no money coming in. And so the brunt of raising my sister and I fell to her. And there were a lot of things that she wanted to do with her life, getting her master's degree, getting these big time promotions, but it would have required being away from us and not being available. And so she structured her whole life really around us. Now, it's not to say that she didn't do really cool things. My mother is also an entrepreneur. She has her baking business, Auntie's Baked Goodies, and before that, she had a horticulture business with patients with plants.
Wow.
And so she was always still doing wonderful things in addition to her full-time job as a registered nurse, right? But when I came along, she put her master's on hold. And when my sister came along, she worked at night as opposed to during the day. That is incredibly disruptive to the body. And she had the health issues, one of them being high blood pressure that goes with that. Um, but I will say about my mother, when we left the house, we were able to stand on our own 2 feet. And one of the things that I am seeing as I get older and I'm watching people around me, parenting, you have a decision to make. Either you're going to raise your children the first 18, or you're going to be raising them from 18 until. And so my mom took the time to put in the work on the first 18. And so now we're not in her house, and she lives where she wants to live. She drives where she wants to drive. She's active with her sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. She still can't believe I went the other way, but she's going to be all right. And she is doing her own thing, right? She is doing her own thing. Now, the second person who has been incredibly instrumental is my daughter, Angelica. Because when Angelica, we found out she was on the way, Dr. Turner, I had resigned from my job on Tuesday to start my firm and found on a Thursday, hi, Mom. And surprise! And my husband was like, we're going to go for it anyway. Let's do it. And even though I knew that you can know something intellectually, but as far as how you're going to change your life, it's not until the person like shows up and was like, hey, that thing that you thought you were going to, no, I need attention.
Right.
My daughter started the shift in my mind as to what was important as far as how I was going to start looking at success. So even though it was a journey that took about 8 years, it really started from the moment that she came into the world. Because no, you can't work 80 hours and be a good parent. Something has to give. And I tell you, and I tell young parents all the time, when the babies come, you think that the opportunity in front of you is once in a lifetime. Nothing will ever come again. Oh my God. I promise you, what is for you is for you. And if you have the opportunity and the choice between being there for your child and doing that other thing, whatever the thing is, pick your kid. Because every time I did the other thing, I don't remember who I was with. I don't know what we talked about. Whatever it was that was so great, something else came along that was even better. But I remember my daughter's first steps. I remember the first time she broke a block in karate. I remember the first time one of her pieces of art was selected for presentation and display. Those are the things that lead to the lives of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Being able to make the choice and know it was the right one because it's consistent with who you are, what you are, and how you serve.
And that is so true. Because you do find yourself at a crossroads when you are a parent. Um, am I going to continue down the path of doing the things I want to do in my professional and personal endeavors, or I'm going to be present in this new life and this human
Yes.
being that is going to remember all of those things later? And I'm in total agreement. If you don't raise them on that front side, then they're going to be with you on the back end. And I am not ashamed to say that my oldest is 24, and Mr. Christian is 16 on Wednesday. And it did take a little while for my oldest to get to move out, but he moved out last year. And when he did, he pays for all his own stuff. And he hasn't called one time to ask for one thing. And he is doing really well on his own. And so that's all we could hope for. And so I am just so happy to hear that about baby girl, and just seeing her just grow into mature into this wonderful young lady, Miss Angelica. And so that is a beautiful, 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 beautiful name. And so we talk about
Thank you.
passion. We have talked about what drives you, and we talked about your pursuit of passion, and you talked about you being an accountant, which is an amazing thing. That means you're good with numbers, and I am not. I'm good with money, but I'm good with some money now.
I
I
love it.
now I can squeeze a
Yes,
dollar till it
yes.
bleeds, but it's just the
I
whole
love
idea
it.
of accounting just really blows my mind. You're an attorney, and you've owned a media company, a magazine, so which is where I met you during that stage in life, and now you are here litigating for people who can't litigate for themselves against the behemoth of cosmetic companies, and these products that they put, these inherently dangerous products that they put into the market, and you're advocating for them. So what drives you to do that? And talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now in your business and in your career.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And what drives me is the fact that these women are me. Last year, I was really excited because my nephew was graduating from high school. And so the whole family made the plan to get down to Miami to be there. And after the graduation, I wasn't feeling well. Husband takes me to the ER, and I have a bowel obstruction which they tried to resolve, naturally couldn't, so I had to have surgery. Comes to find out that it was caused by scar tissue from the previous surgery, right? So we get that straightened out, but in the meantime, my latest book, Live Life on Fire: The Ultimate Guide to Living a Successful Life Full of Peace, Joy, and Fulfillment, was supposed to roll out 2 weeks from then. And so that had to be pushed back. So when I was laid up, I had a lot of time to think and read and catch up on a lot of things. And one of those things was the relaxer case. And what I noticed were, candidly speaking, Dr. Turner, there were a lot of people talking, but not a lot of people who experienced it. And by that I mean, I didn't see not one person who looked like me, who had had the fibroids and the hysterectomy, who had bled out of her clothes so badly that she was wearing Depends diapers. I did not see any women in that leader group who represented who we are and what we're going through. And I said, you know what? This is where I have to be. And so when it was time to release my book, I sent it out into the world, but my call to action changed. And that was, my new purpose is to get every box of that crap off the market. Because when my mother started perming my hair when I was little, there's no way Patience Mitchell would have put that stuff in my head if she had known. When my hairdresser, and most of us feel this way, our hairdressers are part of our
Yeah.
family. They are, there's no way Miss Ann and Miss Lou would have put that stuff in my head if they had known. They were putting it in their own heads. They would not have put that in their own children's heads if they had known. And I say this so that those people who are trying to scare folks from saying anything because, oh, they're going to try and take something from your hairdresser. Nobody's looking at the hairdresser. The hairdresser didn't create this stuff. The hairdresser didn't put the mismatched labels on this stuff. The hairdresser did not misrepresent what was in the box. That was you, manufacturer. That was you, big cosmetics companies. That was you. And so you are the ones we're holding accountable.
And that's powerful work, because we all know someone who has had a situation to where they were ill and they're still ill and they don't know what's going on with their bodies. And we run to the doctor and the doctor says it's this. We get a surgery. Then they say, okay, it is just scar tissue. But, for us to go in to see what it is, well, that creates more scar tissue. And so we really don't have any answers. Like, we really don't know where to go. And so you're a voice and you're an advocate. And one of the things that we talk about here on the Beautiful Butterfly Project is that we share our stories to give others the courage to share their own. And what you have shared today is going to open up a floodgate of women who look like you and me, that are going to have their own testimonies and they're going to have courage to come forward to share their stories. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so you're talking about your book and you sent it out into the world. So how did that book do? And are you expecting any other books to come out? I know you have a coaching business. And so talk to us about your coaching business and what you do with that.
Absolutely. So the Live Life on Fire is doing very well. It became a #1 bestseller on Amazon in Women in Business, which was amazing because with my previous books, they've all become bestsellers as well. But it was after a whole marketing push and a whole lot of resources behind it. This one, I sent it out into the world, and Holy Spirit, about a week later, said, go check. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I look, and there it was, right there. And I was so, and still am, so overwhelmed with gratitude and thanksgiving to the people who read the book, who it touched them, who have shared it, and continue to look back at it as a life manual. And it has been so edifying and humbling at the same time, if that makes sense, to have people who were my teachers, who were integral in me becoming the woman I am today, come back and tell me that they keep it next to their bed, and so when they have an issue, they open it up and go through it. I'm just like, what? But that's what happens when you open yourself to the download, because Live Life on Fire is my 5th book. And so I started out publishing my own books because I didn't want to wait for somebody to say yes. And during that process, I helped other people publish, and so I became a publisher of books and then magazines, and how we met through the media company Bold Favor. And each of those books, I feel, has been a progression to who and where I am now, and has gotten me to the place where this last book, Live Life on Fire, was truly a download from Holy Spirit. There are times I read things in that book and I'm like, that's amazing, because that wasn't me. Yes, it was my fingers that typed out the words, but that word was straight from God. And to be a vessel and to have been obedient as to the timing, because I could have pushed it out anyway back in June, but it wasn't the right time. It had to come now. You mentioned with the coaching, I coach very few people now because I am in a place of legacy building. With the relaxer cases, that's legacy building. We're getting this mess off the shelf so that it no longer encumbers our ways of healthy and wealthy living, and having people in our downline who no longer have that toxicity in their DNA, right? And with my coaching, I now help people to establish their own speaking businesses and publishing businesses so that they can make a choice. You can sell it or you can pass it down. But either way, what you are producing is good and it will bless those who read it and hear it. That is not to say that if you're doing something else that that's not your path. But this is where I am and this is the path that I'm
It was
walking.
really beautiful when you said that your purpose in life changed. Because
Yeah.
so many people think, I was born for this one thing and I'm going to stick with this one thing. But our purpose
Yeah.
can change directions just like our journey does. And it can look different from when
Yeah.
we originally started out to where we are now because we
Yes.
change and we evolve as people. So that was really, really beautiful. And so, the
Thank you.
last question I want to ask before we get to our lightning round is this: is there any words of advice that you would give the Butterfly Nation on how to live a triumphant life?
Butterfly Nation, you are so blessed to have your leader, Dr. Nicole Turner. Honor her, love her, cherish her, support her. One of the parts of living a triumphant life is to know that you are already triumphant. Looking for someone else to validate you, to love you, that is going to lead you down a path of carrot and stick. I know because that was
Mm.
me. The harder I worked, the harder I had to work. The more I chased, the more I had to
Mm.
chase. And it does not stop until you say, enough already. There will be people who fall away. There will be people who then come into your life to take their place. Trust the cycle, trust the process, trust yourself. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. Go with that.
I love it. I love it. We could probably talk for 2 hours, but we probably have to
I know!
break it up to a part one and part two.
I know!
So, oh my God, I don't think I was ready for that. So, okay, so let me get myself together. And so these are questions that I kind of switch them up, but I do ask them of every guest. And so my first question to you is, what is your favorite color?
I have two, purple and green. Purple for majesty, to remind me that I am the daughter of the
Yes,
king, and green for health and
I
wealth.
love it. Those are two great colors. Of course, purple is my favorite color too. So I love it.
Ah,
I love it.
yes!
Your favorite word?
My favorite word, live.
Mm,
It is an honor and a blessing to be here at this moment of time on this earth right now. There are so many people who didn't
yeah.
make it. I went to a funeral on Thursday. There was another friend who buried a grandmother the week before that, and I just spoke with someone today who buried a cousin this week.
Mhm.
They didn't make it to today, but you did. So live.
Mm. What keeps you up at night?
Wondering what's next.
Mm. Too.
I
That's me too.
and that's the truth because I like being in now. I work hard to stay present and to be appreciative of this moment right
Yeah.
here. But I'm human. I do want to know what's
Mhm.
coming up, how I can be better prepared, how can I avoid as many headaches and stressors as possible. And then I have to remember I got it.
Wow.
All is well, no matter what. But that's the thing.
Wow.
Thankfully, it only lasts about 10 or 15 minutes and then it
Right.
goes away. But yeah, but that's the truth. What's next?
What's next? Oh my goodness. And if you had one day left on Earth, what would you spend it doing?
Oh, that would be easy. I would go home to Miami and I would hold a picnic for everyone who I loved at CB Smith Park. and enjoy the breeze and the beach. And I would ask my mom to cook up a
All right
storm,
now.
and we would play games and watch the sunset. And I would leave here knowing it is well with my soul. I've left nothing on the table, Dr. Turner. Everything I ever wanted to do, I've done.
Wow.
Yeah. So it would truly be well with my soul. My daughter is in a good place. Would she miss her mommy? Absolutely. But she can cook. She can take care of herself. She knows what she wants to do in life. My husband is a good man. I have told him and he shuts me down, but I'm like, I want you to remarry and find someone who will make you happy. My parents are in a good place. My siblings are good. God is good.
Yes, he is. Well, Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, will you tell the Butterfly Nation where can we find you?
Absolutely. So I'll make it easy. If you put in my name in Google, you're going to come up with my Facebook because that's my name, my Insta, my LinkedIn, my IG, my TikTok, my website. Follow, friend, let's connect.
I absolutely love it. And I'm going to end the interview in the words of Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. Choose to be a blessing and not a burden, and be open to the download. The Beautiful Butterfly Project thanks you for being our guest today. My heart is full of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Beautiful Butterfly Project. I hope you found it to be insightful, but most of all, inspiring. If you are interested in being a guest or learning more, please visit our Facebook page at The Beautiful Butterfly Project or email us at thebeautifulbutterflyproject@innovativebutterfly.com. We hope to see you again soon as we take this amazing journey together on The Beautiful Butterfly Project.